Somewhere deep in the forest, far beyond the reach of cities, borders, and time, there lived an old hermit. He spoke to no one. He wrote no books. He wandered barefoot, listening to the whispers of stones and stars. But those who stumbled upon him, lost travelers, weary monks, wandering fools, they returned changed, not with answers, but with clarity. They called him a ghost, a prophet, a madman, yet every word he spoke pierced like lightning, and every silence he held was heavier than truth. For years, his teachings were never written, until now. In this video, we will journey together through a reconstruction of the hermit's lost teachings, a tapestry woven from forgotten philosophies, ancient poetry, Eastern mysticism, and modern emptiness. You will hear 33 reflections, each one like a drop of cold river water on your sleeping mind, not to inspire you, not to motivate you, but to remind you of what you already know. Before we begin, let go of judgment. Let go of needing to understand. These teachings are not linear. They do not build up to a lesson. They are the fire. You are the forest. And now the match has been struck. This is the lost teachings of the ancient hermit. And if you stay until the end, you may never see the world the same way again. Lesson 1. Silence is the first teacher. In the beginning, before the world had a name, there was silence, and it taught everything. Before the mountains spoke their names to the sky, before man carved words into stone and told his story, there was only silence. Not the silence of absence, but the silence that breathes, the silence between heartbeats, between thoughts, between the stars, as they blink in the cold night. The hermit once said, "Do not fear the silence. Sit with it, and it will reveal truths louder than thunder." When he left the village and climbed the forgotten hills, he brought no scrolls, no scriptures, only a bowl, a robe, and a promise to himself to listen. He sat beneath an old tree, not for hours, but for days. The wind blew, the moon waxed and waned, the world moved, and in that stillness, the first teaching came. The world does not rush. Only man does. Most people fear silence. We fill it with noise, conversations, entertainment, even our own restless thoughts. But silence is not empty. It is a mirror, and in its still waters, you see yourself raw, without masks. The first lesson is not to seek answers, but to become quiet enough to hear the questions you've avoided. Why am I here? Who am I when no one is watching? What part of me is real, and what is performance? Silence does not shout these questions. It whispers, and only the patient hear it. There was once a seeker who asked the hermit, "Master, I want to learn." When it speaks, come back. The seeker thought it was a riddle. Days passed. Frustrated, he threw the pebble into the water and prepared to leave. But in that exact moment, he heard it, not with ears, but inside. Not words, but truth. He realized the pebble never needed to speak. It was the act of listening, without expectation. That was the true lesson. The mind calms not when forced into stillness, but when invited into presence. And so, the hermit teaches us, begin your day with silence, even 5 minutes, before the world grabs your attention. Sit, breathe, and feel your own being. Let the silence greet you before the world does. Practice listening without planning your reply. When someone speaks, don't prepare your response. Just receive them. That is also silence. Walk without your phone, no music, no distractions. Let the sounds around you fill your awareness. Birds, wind, your footsteps. This is meditation in motion. Notice the noise in your own head. Don't silence it. Watch it. Like clouds, it will pass. And what remains underneath is you. You will find that the deeper your silence, the louder your soul becomes. And in that moment, the hermit said, "You do not learn the truth. You remember it. Because in silence, we do not become someone else. We return to who we truly are. The quieter you become, the more you can hear." Ram Dass. Lesson 2. The path is not found, but remembered. You are not lost. You have simply walked too far from your own footsteps. The hermit once met a traveler dusty, desperate, worn by time. The man said, "I've searched the world for purpose. Temples, teachers, books, but still I am lost." The hermit offered him tea. Silent minutes passed. Then he spoke softly. "Perhaps the path you seek is not somewhere ahead, but something you've forgotten behind." The traveler didn't understand, but he stayed. Each morning, the hermit would ask just one question. What did your soul know before you learned to be afraid? And each day, the traveler would sit longer in silence, until one day, he cried, not from pain, but from recognition. He remembered, not a moment or a place, but a feeling of wonder, of simplicity, of being alive before the world told him who he should be. This is the second teaching. The path is not found through searching. It is remembered through stillness. In the modern world, we are trained to look outside for maps, for mentors, for meaning. We ask others, "What should I do? Who should I become?" And yet, the answer, the true path, lies not in the stars, but in the soil of your own soul. We are born with an inner compass, but over time, it's buried beneath the noise of expectations, fears, comparisons, and the heavy armor we wear to protect ourselves. The hermit called it the great forgetting, not because we are flawed, but because we are distracted. You are not broken. You are simply disconnected from your original knowing. So how do we remember? Not by effort, not by striving, but by unlearning, by peeling away the layers that were never yours to begin with. Sit with this for a moment. Who told you success means money or fame? Who convinced you that you must always be productive to be worthy? Who said you must fit in rather than stand alone in truth? These voices were never yours. The path back begins with noticing what is not you, so you can hear what has always been you. The hermit gave the traveler a practice. He said, "Each day, remove one belief that feels heavy, not because it's false, but because it no longer serves the light in you." The traveler began writing one sentence each day. "I believed I had to be strong all the time. I believed love had to be earned. I believed rest was weakness." One by one, the weights fell away. And with each letting go, he didn't become someone new. He became someone true. This is the paradox of the inner path. The more you let go of who you are not, the more clearly you remember who you are. So, what can we practice now? Ask not, "What should I do?" but, "What did I love before I was told what to love?" Return to the memories that made your heart feel wide. Childhood joys are clues. Keep a journal of unlearning. Each night, Write one belief you question. You don't need to destroy it. Just hold it up to the light. Spend time alone without agenda. No goals, no stimulation, just being. In this space, your forgotten truths begin to knock. Trust the gentle nudges. That quiet desire to paint, to walk barefoot, to rest, these are your soul's breadcrumbs. Follow them. The hermit's final words to the traveler were these: you never needed to find the path. You are the path. You only needed to stop running from yourself long enough to walk it. And when the traveler descended from the mountain, he carried no map, only a calm he could not explain. He no longer needed direction. He remembered the way. The path is not outside you. It is within you, waiting to be walked once more. Lesson 3. The wound is the window. The crack is where the light enters, but also where the truth escapes. The hermit. There once came a young man to the hermit's cave, limping from an old injury. He had crossed deserts, endured storms, and climbed cliffs just to ask one thing: can you heal me? The hermit, without looking up from his quiet fire, said, "Number, but I can teach you how to stop hiding from your wound." The man was confused. "But I want it. It haunts me." And the hermit answered, "It haunts you because you've never sat with it long enough to hear what it's trying to say." That night, the hermit told him a story. There was once a pot made of clay. One day it cracked, a long, deep scar down its side. The owner tried to throw it away, ashamed of its imperfection. But then, the potter, an old woman, picked it up and filled the crack with gold. She said, "Now, not only does it hold water, it also holds light." The crack became its beauty. Its flaw became the only part that truly caught the eye. This is the third teaching. The wound is not just pain. It is a portal. So many of us carry wounds we never tend to. Not because we're weak, but because the world taught us to run from pain. We medicate it, avoid it, deny it. We cover it with smiles, distractions, busy schedules. But wounds do not heal in the dark. They only fester there. The hermit called these wounds sacred doors, not to be escaped, but entered, not to be erased, but listened to, because beneath every wound lies a truth that was too powerful to be handled at the time. A rejection that taught you you weren't enough. A betrayal that shattered your ability to trust. A silence that taught you love must be earned. And so you built armor. You covered the wound. You forgot it was there. But every armor leaks. Every mask becomes heavy. The hermit told the man, "Your pain does not ask to be solved. It asks to be seen. Sit with it, not as a victim, but as a student. Ask it what it came to teach you." The man did. At first, only tears, then anger, then memories, then something else. A quiet voice, a younger self, a reminder. I only needed someone to hold me. That was the lesson. It wasn't the pain itself, but the message behind the pain that had been waiting patiently for him to listen. We all carry wounds, and each one is a mirror. When you look into your wound without judgment, you begin to see your hidden strength. The tenderness you thought was weakness is actually where your compassion was born. The loneliness you feared is the very soil of your empathy. So here is the practice. Name your wound, not with shame, but with honor. Say it out loud. I carry the wound of abandonment. I carry the wound of failure. I carry the wound of being unseen. Ask the wound what it protects. Often, we find fear beneath pain. But fear, too, has a name. And once named, it softens. Create with your wound. Paint, write, dance, speak. Turn the scar into a symbol. The gold in the crack. Let it open you, not define you. Your wound is not your identity, but it is part of your becoming. The hermit whispered to the man one final time, if you wish to grow, you must not grow around the wound, but through it. And the man left, still limping, but lighter, no longer hiding. He walked into the world, wound and all, but with his head held high, because now he knew the wound was his teacher. Where it hurts, it speaks. Where it speaks, it teaches. The Hermit. Lesson 4. The ego builds walls. The soul plants seeds. The ego fears being seen. The soul only fears being forgotten. The Hermit. The Hermit once said, most people are not protecting who they are, but who they pretend to be. In the days when the world was louder and the winds were still full of voices, a young woman came to the mountain. She had achieved much recognition, titles, applause, but her eyes were heavy. Her voice was hollow. She told the Hermit, I've done everything they told me would make me whole, and I still feel empty. The Hermit stirred the fire, then looked at her and said, because you've been building walls, not roots. This is the 4th lesson. The ego builds walls. The soul plants seeds. From the moment we are born, the world tells us, be someone, prove yourself. So we begin constructing. Brick by brick, we stack achievements, images, masks. We become a version of ourselves that is polished, perfect, but painfully distant from who we once were. That is the work of the ego. The ego is not evil. It is simply afraid of being unloved, afraid of insignificance, afraid that without the mask, there is nothing worth seeing. So it builds a fortress, thick walls of persona, gates of defense, windows covered with curtains of control. But here's the truth, the Hermit whispered to her. The higher your walls, the lonelier your soul becomes. Because your soul doesn't want to be impressive. It wants to be alive. The soul does not build walls. It plants seeds. Seeds of truth. Seeds of connection. Seeds of presence. But these seeds are fragile at first. They require stillness. They need light, not spotlight, but inner light. The Hermit asked the woman, when was the last time you did something not to be seen, but simply because it was true? She couldn't answer. And so the Hermit gave her a task. Spend 7 days planting seeds in silence. Not in soil, but in your own life. Day 1, she wrote a letter to someone she had heard. No explanation, just honesty. Day 2, she stood by a river, hands open, and forgave someone who would never apologize. Day 3, she let herself cry, not in shame, but in relief. Day 4, she danced without music, barefoot on the earth, just to remember she had a body. Day 5, she said no to something she didn't want to do for the first time in years. Day 6, she watched the sunrise without trying to capture it. Day 7, she sat in silence and heard her own voice soft, unpolished. True, she came back to the hermit. No walls, just a quiet light in her eyes. The hermit smiled. This is the truth of the soul. It doesn't need to win. It needs to grow. And growth does not happen in perfection. It happens in the soil, messy, slow, unseen. But here's what the hermit taught her. And now, you. The ego builds towers, but the soul plants forests. One craves applause, the other peace. So here is the practice. Notice your walls. Where do you pretend? Where do you protect? What are you hiding? Name your mask. We all wear one. Give it a name. Understand why it was built. Begin planting. Do one thing this week, not for gain, but for truth, for alignment, for your soul. Water your roots. Rest. Reflect. Return. Let go of urgency. Nothing real can be rushed. The world teaches us to build a brand, but your soul doesn't need a brand. It needs a garden where the seeds of truth, once planted, will bloom quietly, but beautifully. The hermit said, "The soul is not found behind walls. It is found beneath the surface, where silence and truth meet." And the woman? She returned to the world, but not as a name, as a presence. Walls lowered, seeds planted, soul remembered. The ego shouts, the soul whispers, but only the whisper can grow a forest. The Hermit. Lesson 5. You do not find the path, you become it. The path is not a road to be walked. It is a rhythm to be remembered. The Hermit. Narration begins. The young man was restless. He had traveled far across valleys, deserts, and cities, searching for something he could not name. He had read books, followed masters, sat in silence, walked in fire, but still, a hole remained inside him. One day, worn and weary, he found the hermit beneath a tree. He asked simply, "Please, show me the path. I have searched everywhere." The hermit looked at him and said, "That is why you cannot find it. Because the path is not found. The path is lived." This is the 5th lesson. You do not find the path. You become it. We are taught to believe the path is out there, something to be discovered in books, in teachings, in travels, in the approval of others. But what if the real path does not begin with footsteps, but with remembering? What if your deepest truth is not something you chase, but something you awaken? The hermit poured tea into a cracked cup and handed it to the young man. "Drink slowly," he said, "and taste where the path begins." As the young man drank, the hermit continued, "You think the path is a destination, but it is a transformation. You do not walk it like a pilgrim looking for a shrine. You become it step by step, breath by breath, truth by truth. The path is not made of stones. It is made of moments. Moments when you choose honesty over image, stillness over noise, compassion over pride. Each of these is a step. Each step changes you, and what changes you becomes the path." The young man frowned. "But how do I know if I'm on it?" he asked. The hermit smiled. "When your life stops trying to impress the world and starts becoming medicine for it, that's when you know." Here is the paradox. The more you search for the path with your eyes, the more lost you become. Because the path is not seen, it is felt. You feel it when you say no to what is false. You feel it when you choose silence instead of defensiveness. You feel it when you forgive without needing anything in return. Each of these acts carves the path beneath your feet. And so the hermit gave the young man a final instruction. For 7 days, do not seek the path. Do not ask for signs. Just become the kind of person the path would trust to reveal itself to. Day 1, he spoke only when his words were rooted in kindness. Day 2, he walked slowly, listening to the wind instead of his thoughts. Day 3, he cooked a meal with his bare hands and gave it to a stranger without telling anyone. Day 4, he forgave a version of himself that no longer served him. Day 5, he sat by a tree and let himself be still, not to meditate, not to improve, but just to be. Day 6, he let go of a dream that was built on fear. Day 7, he whispered to the stars, I no longer need to find the path. I trust that it is becoming me. He returned to the hermit not with answers, but with peace, because now he understood. The path is not something you follow to become someone. It is what unfolds as you become no one and everything, all at once. This is your reminder. You are not behind. You are not lost. You are not late. You are simply unfolding. And in your unfolding, the path remembers you. Reflection practice. Becoming the path. Ask not, what is my purpose? Instead, ask, what in me is most alive, most true, most ready to serve? Stop chasing signs. Begin living as if the sign was already given, and it is you. Do something quietly beautiful today. Not for the result, not for the outcome, just because it is who you are becoming. Let go of arrival. There is no arrival. There is only deepening. The hermit's final whisper. You do not follow the path. You carry it within you. And with each act of truth, you leave a trail for others to remember who they are. The path is not ahead. It is inside. And it grows every time you choose love over fear. The Hermit. Lesson 6. To truly listen is to heal without words. The deepest wounds do not ask for advice. They ask to be heard. The Hermit. Hermit once told a story. A woman came to him, carrying her sorrow like a heavy stone in her chest. She had lost her child many years ago, yet the ache had never left her. Everyone she met tried to fix her grief. Some offered religious words. Some told her to move on. Others looked away in discomfort. But the hermit said nothing. He simply sat beside her as the wind moved through the trees. She spoke, and he listened, not with impatience, not with interruption, not even with the need to help, just with presence. And in that presence, something broke open in her. Not the pain, but the silence around the pain. And for the first time in years, she felt seen, not solved. This is the 6th lesson. To truly listen is to heal without words. In our world, we are taught that healing requires answers. That comfort comes through speaking, giving advice, quoting scripture, or offering a solution. But the hermit teaches something deeper. Healing begins when we are heard in the places that have never been named. Have you ever felt the ache of being unheard, of sharing something vulnerable only to be told what to do? or worse, dismissed. It hurts, because to not be heard is to not exist, even for a moment. But when someone listens, truly listens, with their whole being, without judgment or urgency, without turning your pain into their story, that is sacred. That is medicine. The hermit would say, "You are not here to fix the world. You are here to feel it. And in feeling it fully, you make space for it to breathe." What does it mean to truly listen? It means to surrender your agenda, to put aside your thoughts, your stories, even your instinct to help, and to receive the other person with stillness, to hear the words they say and the ones they cannot say, to notice the tremble in their voice, the silence between sentences, to hear not just the surface, but the soul. The hermit would often sit for hours with a visitor, saying nothing. People thought he was strange, but those who left his hut often did so in tears. Not because he said something profound, but because for the first time, someone had listened without trying to fix them. He listened with his presence. And presence is a mirror that says, you are safe to be as you are. To listen is not passive. It is an active act of love. It says, you are worthy of space. Your pain matters. I am not here to control your story, only to honor it. And here is the secret the hermit revealed. When we learn to listen to others, we begin to hear ourselves. The voice inside you, the one you ignore, rush past, or bury beneath distractions. It too is waiting to be heard, not judged, not fixed, just heard. That voice might be quiet at first. It may come through in whispers, in dreams, in tears, in strange longings. But the more you listen, the more you begin to heal yourself without a single word. So the hermit offered this practice. Each day, sit with someone, even if that someone is you. Do not speak unless called. Do not fix. Just be the quiet tree that shelters the storm. Reflection practice. Sacred listening. Today, choose one conversation where your only goal is to listen. Resist the urge to interrupt, relate, or repair. Just hold space. Find a quiet place and listen to your own breath. Place your hand on your heart. Ask, what have I not been hearing in myself? Journal the phrases you most long to hear from others. Then offer those phrases to yourself. You may be the first person to ever say them. Final whisper from the hermit. The healer is not the one who speaks the most truth, but the one who listens deeply enough that the truth reveals itself. The soul blooms where it is heard. The hermit. Lesson 7. The fire does not burn you. It reveals you. It is the fire of adversity that forges the soul into its truest form. The hermit. Once, the hermit took a wanderer to the edge of a great fire. The fire blazed so intensely that the earth itself trembled beneath its heat. The wanderer, fearing for his life, asked, "Master, do you not fear the flames? What if they consume us?" The hermit smiled, a glimmer of wisdom flickering in his eyes. The fire does not burn you. It only reveals what is hidden. He walked into the fire, his footsteps steady. The wanderer hesitated for a moment, but followed, trembling. And as they both entered the flames, the wanderer felt a strange sensation, not of being consumed, but of being illuminated. His deepest fears rose to the surface. His regrets, his doubts, his desires, all crackled like dry twigs in the fire's heat. But with every moment in the fire, he felt stronger. With every second, something within him, something buried for so long, started to rise, to be revealed. The fire did not burn him, it opened him. This is the seventh lesson. The fire does not burn you, it reveals you. In life, we often fear the things that scorch us. We fear the losses, the betrayals, the hardships, the struggles. We cry out, "Why me?" when the flames of pain lick at our lives. But what if the fire is not your enemy? What if it is the greatest teacher you will ever meet? Think about it. Every time you've gone through something difficult, did you not also come out the other side with greater strength? Weren't your true self, your authentic desires, your purpose, all forged in the furnace of adversity? The hermit once explained that the process of the soul is much like a blacksmith forging a blade. The metal starts as raw and unformed, but it is in the fire that it begins to take shape. The flame doesn't destroy the metal. It reveals its inner strength. It removes the impurities, the distractions, the false shapes that were never meant to be. And what is left is the blade sharp, purposeful, and ready. But how do we learn to face the fire with such courage? The hermit offered a quiet practice for those who feared the flames of life. When the fire comes, welcome it. Do not run from it. Do not wish it away. Instead, stand still and watch what it uncovers. This doesn't mean we should seek out pain for the sake of growth. Pain is not to be chased, but pain, when it comes, is to be honored. The fire itself is neither good nor bad. It is simply a force of transformation. Have you ever noticed how a flower blooms after a storm? The earth is drenched. The wind has bent the branches. But in the aftermath, the flower rises vibrant, resilient, reborn. The storm didn't destroy the flower. It simply taught it how to grow, how to endure, how to reach toward the light despite the darkness. And so it is with your own life. The fire does not burn you. It reveals you. When you face your challenges, remember this. You are not being consumed. You are being revealed. Everything that feels like a burden, a loss, a destruction, it is an invitation to uncover what was always hidden beneath the surface. Reflection practice. The fire within. Look back at a moment of difficulty in your life. What did it reveal to you about yourself? Not the pain, but the truth rose from the ashes. Next time you face hardship, close your eyes and ask, what is this fire revealing to me? What is hidden inside that I must uncover? Meditate on this quote. The fire does not burn you, it reveals you. Sit in the stillness and feel how this truth shifts your perspective. Final whisper from the hermit. It is in the furnace of suffering that the soul becomes its true self. If you can face the fire, you will see that it is not the end of you. It is the beginning. From the fire, you rise as the one you were always meant to be. The Hermit. Lesson 8. The mountain does not move. It teaches you to climb. The mountain does not move to meet you, but it offers you the strength to rise. The Hermit. Once, the hermit took a traveler to the base of a towering mountain. The mountain was vast, its peak shrouded in mist, impossible to reach. The traveler stood before it, feeling small, helpless, and insignificant in the face of its immensity. He turned to the hermit and asked, "Master, how can I ever hope to climb such a mountain? It is too great, too impossible." The hermit looked at him with eyes full of quiet wisdom, a smile playing upon his lips. "The mountain does not move to meet you. It does not bend to your will. It does not change. But you," the hermit continued, "you are the one who must change. The mountain only offers you the challenge, and in accepting it, you will find the strength to climb." With these words, the hermit began his ascent. The traveler hesitated, doubt clouding his mind, but eventually he followed, step by step. The journey was arduous, and the climb felt endless. Yet with each step, he discovered something within himself, a resilience he had never known. And by the time they reached the summit, the traveler realized that the mountain had not changed. What had was him. This is the 8th lesson. The mountain does not move, it teaches you to climb. In life, we often face what seems like insurmountable challenges. We look at our struggles, our limitations, and we wonder, how can I possibly overcome this? We feel small, powerless, and at times defeated. We wish that the mountain would move. We wish that life's challenges would somehow shift, that circumstances would bend to our desires. But the mountain doesn't move. It doesn't change. It stands firm, unyielding. But here's the secret. It is the mountain itself that offers us the greatest gift. It teaches us how to climb. Think about it for a moment. When you faced your hardest moments in life, did they not shape you? Did they not force you to rise, to dig deeper, to find strength you never knew you had? The hermit once spoke of how the mountain is like our inner struggles, unchanging, indifferent to our desires. The mountain does not care whether we are ready to climb. It simply is. The same way, life's difficulties don't bend to our wishes. They don't wait for us to feel ready. But in facing them, we become something new. We learn how to climb. So, how do we climb this mountain, knowing that it will not move for us? The hermit shared with his disciple a quiet but profound practice to help with this. Do not look at the peak. Do not focus on the distance between you and the top. Instead, focus on the step we're taking now. Each step is a victory. Each moment is a lesson. The mountain is not to be conquered in one moment. It is conquered step by step. This doesn't mean the climb will be easy. The path is often steep. The rocks are sharp. The wind howls in your face. But every hardship, every struggle is part of the climb. Every difficulty is there to make you stronger, to reveal your true strength. The mountain does not move, but in its presence, you will learn to climb. Have you ever noticed that climbers do not look at the summit as they ascend? Their eyes are fixed on the next step, next hold, the next breath. They focus on the moment before them. And with every small victory, they are closer to the top. So it is with your life. The mountain will not move, but with every step you take, you will rise higher than you ever thought possible. Reflection practice. The climb. Think about a challenge you are facing now. What is the mountain in your life that you feel is too big to overcome? Do not focus on the summit. Focus on the next step. Next time you feel overwhelmed, ask yourself, what is the next step I must take? And I do now to move forward. Meditate on this quote. The mountain does not move to meet you. It teaches you to climb. Feel how this truth empowers you to rise. Final whisper from the hermit. Do not wait for the mountain to change. It is you who must change. And in that change, you will seek before you come into view. The mountain does not move. It teaches you to climb. The Hermit. Lesson 9. The river does not hurry. It flows at its own pace. The river does not race to the sea, yet it always arrives. The Hermit. One day, the hermit and a young traveler sat beside a winding river. The young traveler, restless and eager, watched the flowing water and asked, "Master, why does the river move so slowly? Why does it take its time?" The hermit, with his usual calmness, smiled and pointed toward the water. The river does not hurry. It does not rush to its end. It simply flows. It is not concerned with the distance to the sea, for it knows that the journey itself is all that matters. They sat in silence as the traveler watched the river's steady flow, realizing the wisdom of the hermit's words. The water, so gentle yet so powerful, did not struggle. It just flowed, never worried, never rushed. This is the 9th lesson. The river does not hurry. It flows at its own pace. In life, we are often caught in the illusion that we must hurry. We rush to achieve, to succeed, to finish. We compare ourselves to others, measuring our progress by the speed at which we move. But the river teaches us that there is wisdom in taking our time. Think about it. Have you ever noticed how rushing only leads to exhaustion, frustration, and mistakes? We try to control the pace of our lives, and in doing so, we lose sight of the present moment. But when we surrender to the flow, when we move at our own pace, we find peace. The river doesn't compare itself to the mountain or the sky. It simply flows, allowing the journey to unfold in its own time. The hermit once explained that rushing is like trying to swim upstream. It is exhausting and ultimately leads to nothing. But when we learn to go with the flow, to follow the current of our lives, we arrive at our destination surely. So how do we learn to flow like the river? The hermit shared a simple practice. When you feel the urge to hurry, stop, close your eyes, and take a breath. Remember that the river does not rush. It flows. And in this flow, there is a rhythm. There is peace. Reflection practice. Going with the flow. Think about a recent time when you felt rushed or pressured. How did it feel? Did it bring peace or anxiety? Next time you feel the urge to hurry, ask yourself, am I going with the flow, or am I fighting against it? Take a moment to pause and breathe, just like the river. Meditate on this quote. The river does not hurry. It flows at its own pace. Let this wisdom remind you to trust the journey, not the destination. Final whisper from the hermit. Hurry not, for the river will not reach the sea any faster. It will arrive in its own time, and so will you. The river does not hurry. It flows at its own pace. The Hermit. Lesson 10. The moon does not shine. It reflects. The moon does not shine on its own. It reflects the light of the sun, showing us the way in the darkness. The Hermit. One evening, the hermit and a young student sat beneath the night sky. The student gazed at the full moon and asked, "Master, why does the moon shine brightly in the night?" The hermit looked at the moon and then back at the student. The moon does not shine on its own. It reflects the light of the sun. It is in the darkness that the moon becomes visible, showing us the way through the night. This is the 10th lesson. The moon does not shine, it reflects. In life, we often believe that we must create our own light, our own path. We feel that we must be the ones to shine, to be the ones who lead. But the moon teaches us that it is not about creating light, but about reflecting the light that already exists. Think about it. Have you ever noticed how the moon only appears in the darkest nights? It does not create its own radiance, but reflects the light that is all around. And so, in our own lives, it is not our job to force light into the world, but to reflect the wisdom, love, and truth that already exists. The hermit once spoke of how our souls are like the moon, capable of reflecting the divine light of the universe. But in order to do so, we must first allow ourselves to be still, to surrender to the darkness, and to trust that the light will come. How can we learn to reflect like the moon? The hermit suggested a simple practice for this. In moments of darkness, when you feel lost or unsure, remember that you do not need to create the light. Simply be still and allow the light around you to reflect through you. Reflection practice. Reflecting the light. Think of a moment in your life when you were able to reflect the light of others. How did it feel to be a mirror of someone else's wisdom or kindness? Next time you feel lost or uncertain, ask yourself, what light am I reflecting? Where can I find the light around me? Meditate on this quote. The moon does not shine, it reflects. Allow this wisdom to help you embrace your role in the world as a mirror, not a creator. Final whisper from the hermit. In the darkest moments, you will find your greatest light not from within, but from the world around you. The moon does not shine, it reflects. The Hermit. Lesson 11. The storm does not last forever. It cleanses the earth. The storm does not destroy. It purifies and makes room for new life. The Hermit. The hermit and a weary traveler stood on a hill, watching a storm rage through the valley below. The traveler, drenched and shivering, asked, "Master, why does the storm come so violently? Does it not destroy everything in its path?" The hermit watched the storm, a deep understanding in his eyes. "The storm does not last forever. It does not destroy," he said. "It cleanses the earth, washing away what is no longer needed and making room for new growth." They stood in silence, watching the fierce winds blow through the trees, and the traveler began to understand. The storm was a force of nature not to be feared, but to be respected. It was a cleansing, a purging that made space for what would come next. This is the 11th lesson. The storm does not last forever, it cleanses the earth. In life, we often fear the storms that come our way. We resist the challenges, the upheavals, the moments of chaos. But the storm, though fierce, is a necessary force. It is through adversity that we find the clarity to move forward, to grow, to transform. Think about it. Have you ever been through a time of great struggle, only to emerge stronger, wiser, and more open to change? The storm is not the end. It is the beginning of something new. The hermit once explained that the earth needs the rain to nourish it. Without the storm, there would be no renewal, no growth. The storm cleanses, clears away the old, and prepares the ground for new life to emerge. How can we learn to embrace the storms of life? The hermit shared this advice. When the storm comes, do not run. Stand still and let it pass over you. Know that after the storm, the earth will be fertile again. Reflection, practice, embracing the storm. Think of a recent challenge you faced. What did it teach you? What did it help you release? Next time you face a difficult situation, remember this. The storm does not last forever. It is simply a purification. Meditate on this quote. The storm does not destroy. It cleanses the earth. Feel how this truth can help you approach life's struggles with a new perspective. Final whisper from the Hermit. In the end, the storm is the earth's way of making room for new life. The storm does not last forever. It cleanses the earth. The Hermit. Lesson 12. The seed does not ask to grow. It just does. The seed does not question the earth. It simply grows. The Hermit. The hermit and a young disciple sat in a quiet meadow, watching a seed sprout from the soil. The disciple asked, "Master, why does the seed grow so naturally? Why does it not resist its destiny?" The hermit smiled and gestured to the young plant. The seed does not ask to grow. It simply does. It trusts in the earth, in the rain, in the sun. Its growth is not a choice, but a natural unfolding. This is the 12th lesson. The seed does not ask to grow. It just does. In life, we often struggle with the idea of becoming. We resist growth, fearing the unknown, uncertain of the path ahead. But growth, like the seed, is not something we control. It is something that happens naturally when we surrender to the process. Think about it. Have you ever struggled against growth, trying to push things into being before their time? But like the seed, when we surrender and trust, we grow in ways we never imagined. The hermit once explained that we are all like seeds planted in the soil of life, waiting for the right conditions to sprout. But growth does not happen overnight. It takes time, patience, and trust in the process. So how do we stop resisting and allow ourselves to grow? The hermit offered this simple wisdom. Do not rush your growth. Trust in the process. Like the seed, you do not need to ask to grow, you simply need to allow it to happen. Reflection practice. Surrendering to growth. Think about a time in your life when you tried to force growth. What happened? Did it bring you peace, or did it bring frustration? Next time you feel the urge to control your growth, ask yourself, am I trying to force this, or am I allowing it to unfold naturally? Meditate on this quote. The seed does not ask to grow, it just does. Let this wisdom remind you that growth is a natural process, not something to be forced. Final whisper from the hermit. Growth is not something you do. It is something you allow. The seed does not ask to grow. It just does. The Hermit. Lesson 13. The mountain does not move. It stands steady. The mountain does not move. It simply stands firm and watches the world change around it. The Hermit. The hermit and a curious traveler stood before a great mountain. The traveler, overwhelmed by the size of it, asked, "Master, does the mountain ever move? Does it ever change?" The hermit smiled and pointed to the mountain, which stood unmoving in the vast landscape. "The mountain does not move," he said. "It simply stands steady, watching as the world around it changes." This is the 13th lesson. The mountain does not move, it stands steady. In life, we often feel pressured to change, to adapt, to conform. We fear that if we do not move with the times, we will be left behind. But the mountain teaches us that true strength lies in steadiness. It is in remaining rooted in our truth that we find our greatest power. Think about it. How often you feel pushed to change, to bend, to fit in with others. But the mountain does not bend. It stands firm, rooted in its place, unaffected by the winds that blow around it. And in that steadiness, it is unshakable. The hermit once said that strength is not about moving quickly, but about being able to remain grounded when everything else is in motion. Like the mountain, we must learn to stay steady in the face of change, to stand firm in our beliefs and values. How can we learn to stand like the mountain? The hermit offered this quiet advice. When the winds blow, stand tall. When the world shifts around you, remain grounded in your truth. Reflection practice. Steady as a mountain. Think of a time when you felt shaken by change. How did you respond? Did you feel rooted, or did you feel lost? Next time you face uncertainty, ask yourself, can I stand steady like the mountain in the midst of change? Meditate on this quote. The mountain does not move, it stands steady. Let this wisdom guide you in finding your strength in the face of the unknown. Final whisper from the hermit. Like the mountain, you will not be moved unless you choose to be. The mountain does not move, it stands steady. The Hermit. Lesson 14. The mirror does not lie. It reflects what you show it. At LibriVox.com. The mirror does not lie. It simply reflects what you choose to show it. The Hermit. The hermit and a young disciple sat before a clear, still pool of water. The disciple looked into the water and asked, "Master, what do you see when you look into the water?" The hermit looked into the still surface and replied, "I see myself as you see yourself. The water reflects only what is shown to it." The disciple pondered this and asked again, "But if the water is clear, why can we not see what is hidden?" The hermit smiled. "What is hidden in your heart will remain hidden, but if you are open, the water will reflect your truth. The mirror does not lie. It simply reflects what you show it." This is the 14th lesson. The mirror does not lie. It reflects what you show it. In life, we often hide our true selves from the world. We present a mask, a facade, to fit into society's expectations. But the truth cannot be hidden forever. Like the mirror, life reflects who we are, whether we like it or not. Think about it. How many times have you been faced with a situation where the truth came out even when you tried to keep it hidden? The world, like the mirror, reflects what you choose to show it. So, if you want to see the truth in your life, begin by being honest with yourself. The hermit once said that we cannot hide from ourselves. What we keep in the shadows will eventually rise to the surface. If you want to live a life of integrity, you must be willing to show your true self to the world, no matter how uncomfortable that may feel. How do we begin to show our true selves? The hermit offered this guidance. Be true to what you are. The mirror reflects what you choose to show. If you want to see truth, be willing to stand in your own light. Reflection practice. The mirror of truth. Think of a time when you wore a mask, pretending to be something you were not. How did it feel to hide your true self? What happened when the truth was revealed? Next time you face a challenge, ask yourself, what am I truly showing the world? Is it who I really am? Meditate on this quote. The mirror does not lie. It reflects what you show it. Let this wisdom guide you in embracing your authentic self. Final whisper from the hermit. The truth is reflected in the mirror of your soul. Be brave enough to show it. Lesson 15. The moon does not hasten. It waxes and wanes in its own time. The moon does not hurry. It waxes and wanes in its own time. The hermit and the traveler sat beneath the full moon, its light casting shadows on the ground. The traveler, feeling impatient with his own life, asked, "Master, why does the moon take its time to change? Why does it not hurry to reach its fullness?" The hermit gazed at the moon and replied, "The moon does not rush its journey. It waxes and wanes in its own time. The universe has a rhythm, and everything unfolds as it should." This is the 15th lesson. The moon does not hasten it, waxes and wanes in its own time. In life, we often feel pressure to move faster, to achieve more, to hurry toward our goals. But the moon teaches us that growth and transformation take time. There is no need to rush. The rhythm of life will carry us forward when the time is right. Think about it. How often do you rush through life, pushing to get to the next stage, the next goal, without pausing to appreciate the process? Like the moon, we all have our cycles, and they unfold at their own pace. There is no need to rush. Everything will come in its own time. The hermit once said that life is a dance with time. We must learn to move at our own rhythm, not someone else's. Just as the moon does not rush, neither should we. We must trust the process and allow ourselves to grow at the right pace for us. How do we stop rushing and allow life to unfold in its own time? The hermit shared this insight. Trust the timing of your life. Do not hurry, for what is meant for you will come in its own time. Reflection practice. The rhythm of life. Think about a time when you rushed towards something, only to realize that it came at the wrong time. What did you learn from that experience? Next time you feel rushed or impatient, ask yourself, am I trusting the timing of my life, or am I pushing for something before its time? Meditate on this quote. The moon does not hasten, it waxes and wanes in its own time. Let this wisdom remind you to trust the process. Final whisper from the hermit. In time, everything unfolds perfectly. Be patient and trust the rhythm of life. The moon does not hasten, it waxes and wanes in its own time. The hermit. Lesson 16. The river does not judge. It simply flows. The river does not judge. It simply flows, accepting all that comes its way. The hermit. The hermit and a young disciple sat by the side of a river, watching the water rush by. The disciple, troubled by the hardships of his life, asked, "Master, how can the river remain so calm, so unbothered by the rocks and debris it carries?" The hermit smiled gently. The river does not judge the obstacles in its path. It simply flows, accepting all that comes its way. It knows that the journey is not about avoiding difficulties, but about moving through them. This is the 16th lesson. The river does not judge. It simply flows. In life, we often find ourselves facing obstacles, judgment, and criticism. But the river teaches us that we do not need to judge or resist what comes our way. We can move through life with grace and acceptance, knowing that each challenge is part of our journey. Think about it. How often do you resist the challenges that come your way, wishing things were different? Like the river, we can learn to accept the flow of life, no matter how turbulent or still it may seem. The hermit once said that we do not control the obstacles we face, but we do control how we respond. The river does not fight the rocks. It simply flows around them, continuing on its journey. We can do the same in our lives. Move with the flow, accepting what comes without judgment. How can we learn to accept the flow of life without judgment? The hermit offered this simple wisdom. Do not resist what comes your way. Let it flow through you and move forward. Reflection practice. The flow of acceptance. Think about a time when you resisted something in your life, only to realize that it was part of your path. How did you feel once you accepted it? Next time you face a challenge, ask yourself, am I resisting this, or am I flowing through it? Meditate on this quote. The river does not judge it, simply flows. Let this wisdom help you accept the flow of life. Final whisper from the hermit. Move with the flow of life, and you will find peace in the journey. The river does not judge it, simply flows. The Hermit. Lesson 17. The tree does not compete. It grows in its own space. The tree does not compete with others. It simply grows in its own space. The Hermit. The hermit and the disciple stood before a tall, ancient tree, its branches stretching wide. The disciple asked, Master, how does the tree grow so tall, so majestic, without worrying about the trees around it? The hermit smiled and said, The tree does not compete. It grows in its own space, seeking the light that is meant for it. It does not compare itself to the trees beside it. It understands that its growth is its own path. This is the 17th lesson. The tree does not compete. It grows in its own space. In life, we often feel pressured to compete with others, to measure our success against theirs. But the tree shows us a different way to focus on our own growth, without concern for the paths of others. By cultivating our unique strengths, we allow ourselves to grow naturally and fully. Think about it. How much energy do you spend comparing yourself to others? If the tree could talk, it would tell you that it is not concerned with the growth of the other trees around it. Its only concern is growing in the space it occupies. The hermit once said that true growth happens when we stop measuring ourselves against others. Just as the tree grows in its own space, we must learn to grow in the space we have, not with envy, but with gratitude for what we are. How can we stop comparing ourselves to others and focus on our own growth? The hermit shared this advice. Do not compete with others. Grow in your own space, and you will become the person you are meant to be. Reflection practice. The path of non-competition. Think about a time when you compared yourself to someone else. How did it make you feel? What would have happened if you had focused on your own path instead? Next time you feel the urge to compare yourself to someone else, ask yourself, am I growing in my own space, or am I distracted by others' paths? Meditate on this quote. The tree does not compete. It grows in its own space. Let this wisdom guide you in embracing your unique journey. Final whisper from the hermit. Grow where you are planted. Your growth is your own. The tree does not compete. It grows in its own space. The Hermit. Lesson 18. The wind does not ask for permission. It moves freely. The wind does not ask for permission. It moves freely, finding its own way. The Hermit. The hermit and the traveler sat on a mountain peak, watching the wind blow across the landscape. The traveler asked, Master, how can the wind move so freely without asking for permission? The hermit replied, "The wind does not ask for permission. It is free to move as it pleases. It flows without hesitation, finding its path through the world, not bound by any restrictions." This is the 18th lesson. The wind does not ask for permission, it moves freely. In life, we often feel restricted by rules, expectations, and the opinions of others. But the wind teaches us that true freedom comes when we move with confidence and purpose, without mission from anyone. We must trust ourselves enough to follow our own path, even when it seems uncertain. Think about it. How often do you hold yourself back because you feel you need someone's approval? The wind does not ask for permission. It simply moves forward, carving its own way through the world. The hermit once said that we must be like the wind, moving freely and boldly, not bound by the constraints of fear or doubt. When we stop seeking permission to live our lives, we find true freedom in our journey. How can we embrace this freedom in our own lives? The hermit offered this simple wisdom. Do not ask for permission to be yourself. Move freely, and you will find your true path. Reflection practice. The freedom to move. Think about a time when you held back from doing something because you feared judgment or rejection. How did it feel to withhold your actions? What would have happened if you had moved freely, without fear? Next time you hesitate, ask yourself, am I seeking permission from others, or am I moving freely toward my goal? Meditate on this quote. The wind does not ask for permission. It moves freely. Let this wisdom guide you to move freely in your own life. Final whisper from the hermit. Be free and let your soul flow without hesitation. The wind does not ask for permission. It moves freely. The hermit. Lesson 19. The mountain does not move. It stands firm. The mountain does not move. It stands firm, rooted in its place. The hermit. The hermit and the disciple sat at the base of a towering mountain. The disciple, feeling lost and uncertain, asked, "Master, how can the mountain stand so still, unmoved by the winds, the storms, and the passing of time?" The hermit looked up at the mountain and replied, "The mountain does not move. It stands firm because it is rooted deeply in the earth. No matter what comes, it remains grounded and unwavering, for it knows its purpose." This is the 19th lesson. The mountain does not move. It stands firm. In life, we may face storms, challenges, and doubts. But like the mountain, we must learn to stand firm, rooted in our own values and purpose. The winds of uncertainty may blow, but we remain steady, knowing that our foundation is solid. Think about it. When faced with adversity, do you stand firm like the mountain, or do you let the winds of fear move you? The mountain does not bend or break. It simply stands firm, knowing that its roots are strong. The hermit once said that true strength comes not from fighting the storms, but from staying grounded in who you are. When we are rooted in our purpose, we can face any challenge with unwavering strength. How can we stand firm like the mountain? The hermit shared this wisdom. Be rooted in your values, and no storm will move you. Reflection practice. The strength of steadfastness. Think about a time when you faced a challenge, and you either stood firm or were swept away by doubt. How did your response affect the outcome? Next time you face adversity, ask yourself, am I standing firm in my beliefs, or am I being swayed by the winds of fear? Meditate on this quote. The mountain does not move. It stands firm. Let this wisdom help you stay grounded in your life. Final whisper from the Hermit. Root yourself in your truth, and no storm will shake you. The mountain does not move. It stands firm. The Hermit. Lesson 20. The mirror shows only the reflection, not the truth. The mirror can only show what is in front of it. It does not reveal the depth of your soul. The Hermit. The hermit and the traveler walked through a forest and came across a still, clear pond. The traveler looked into the water and saw his reflection. Master, the water shows me who I am, the traveler said. The hermit replied, the water shows only the surface. It cannot show you the depth of your being. You must look beyond reflection. This is the 20th lesson. The mirror shows only the reflection, not the truth. We often rely on external appearances, on the reflections others show us or that we see in the mirror. But the truth of who we are is far deeper than any surface can reveal. The reflection is not the essence. It is only a glimpse of what lies beneath. Think about it. How often do you measure yourself by what others see or by your outward appearance? The reflection is not the truth. It is a mere projection. You must look deeper to find what is real and enduring inside. The hermit once said that our true selves are like the roots of a tree, hidden but strong. We cannot understand ourselves by looking only at what is on the surface. We must seek the truth beneath, where our essence lies. How do we look beyond the reflection? The hermit offered this advice. Look beyond the surface, and you will find the truth of who you are. Reflection practice. Beyond the mirror. Think about a time when you judged yourself based on external appearances. What did you discover when you looked deeper? Next time you judge yourself, ask, what is beneath the surface of this reflection? What is the truth of who I am? Meditate on this quote. The mirror shows only the reflection, not the truth. Let this wisdom guide you to discover the depth of your own being. Final whisper from the Hermit. Look within to find the truth that cannot be seen by others. The mirror shows only the reflection, not the truth. The Hermit. Lesson 21. The river does not hurry. It moves in its own time. The river does not hurry. It moves in its own time, flowing according to its own rhythm. The hermit and the traveler sat by a river, watching it gently flow. The traveler asked, Master, why does the river never hurry? It moves slowly and steadily, yet it reaches its destination. The hermit replied, the river does not hurry. It knows that everything comes in its own time. It moves with patience, never rushing, but always moving forward. This is the 21st lesson. The river does not hurry, it moves in its own time. In life, we often feel the pressure to move quickly, to accomplish things in a certain time frame. But the river teaches us that there is no need to rush. Life moves in its own rhythm, and everything comes when it is meant to. We must trust in the flow of time, knowing that our journey unfolds at its own pace. Think about it. How often do you rush through life, trying to force things to happen faster? The river flows at its own pace, and it always reaches its destination. If we trust in our own path, we will arrive where we need to be. The hermit once said that time is not an enemy, but a companion. When we stop fighting against it, we learn to move in harmony with its flow. By embracing our own timing, we can find peace in the journey. How can we learn to move like the river. The hermit shared this advice. Trust in the flow of life, and you will reach your destination in your own time. Reflection practice. The rhythm of time. Think about a time when you felt rushed or impatient. What did that experience teach you about your own sense of timing? Next time you feel the pressure of time, ask yourself, am I moving too fast? Am I trusting the flow of my life? Meditate on this quote. The river does not hurry. It moves in its own time. Let this wisdom guide you to move at your own pace. Final whisper from the hermit. Move with the flow of life, and you will find your way. The river does not hurry. It moves in its own time. The Hermit. Lesson 22. The shadow cannot be fought. It must be embraced. The shadow is not the enemy. It is a part of who you are. The Hermit. The hermit and the traveler sat in a darkened cave. The traveler, troubled by the shadows around them, asked, "Master, why do the shadows haunt us so? Why can't we escape them?" The hermit replied, "The shadow is not your enemy. It is a part of you. You cannot fight it. You must learn to embrace it." This is the 22nd lesson. The shadow cannot be fought. It must be embraced. In life, we often try to avoid or suppress the darker parts of ourselves, our fears, our insecurities, our pain. But the shadow is not something to fear. It is a part of who we are, and only by embracing it can we understand its true nature. Think about it. How often do you try to avoid the parts of yourself you don't like? What would happen if you embrace those shadows instead? The hermit teaches that we must learn to accept every part of ourselves, including the darkness. The hermit once said that the light and the shadow are two sides of the same coin. Without one, the other cannot exist. By embracing the shadow, we can find wholeness, a balance between light and dark. How can we embrace the shadow? The hermit offered this simple practice. When the shadow appears, do not run. Stop and face it. In doing so, you will come to know yourself. Reflection practice. Embracing the shadow. Think about a time when you avoided a difficult aspect of yourself. What would have happened if you had embraced it instead? Next time you face your own darkness, ask yourself, what is this shadow trying to teach me? What truth lies within it? Meditate on this quote. The shadow cannot be fought. It must be embraced. Let this wisdom guide you in accepting all parts of yourself. Final whisper from the hermit. Only by embracing the shadow can you truly understand the light. Lesson 23. The seed does not ask for permission to grow. The seed does not ask for permission to grow. It simply seeks the light. The hermit. The hermit and the traveler sat in a garden, watching seeds sprout into small plants. The traveler asked, "Master, how do the seeds know to grow? They do not ask for permission or guidance. Why do they grow so boldly?" The hermit replied, "The seed knows that growth is its destiny. It seeks the light and grows, unfurling its potential without hesitation." This is the 23rd lesson. May. The seed does not ask for permission to grow. In life, we often wait for approval before we begin our journey. But the seed teaches us that growth does not need permission. It simply seeks the light and grows. Our path, too, should unfold without fear of others' judgment. Think about it. How many times Have you held back because you feared what others might think? The seed doesn't care about approval. It just grows, reaching for what it needs. The hermit once said, "When you know your purpose, you will grow naturally. Don't wait for permission, grow boldly and without fear." Just as the seed knows it must grow, you, too, must trust your growth process. How can we learn to grow like the seed? The hermit shared this wisdom. Seek the light, and you will find your way. Grow without hesitation. Reflection practice. Growth without permission. Think about a time when you held back from growing or moving forward. What stopped you from taking action? Next time you hesitate, ask yourself, am I waiting for permission or am I trusting my path to unfold? Meditate on this quote. The seed does not ask for permission to grow. Let this wisdom encourage you to trust your own growth. Final whisper from the hermit. Grow where you are planted and trust in the unfolding of your path. The seed does not ask for permission to grow. The hermit. Lesson 24. The fire does not choose what it burns. The fire does not choose what it burns. It consumes whatever lies in its path. The hermit and the disciple sat by a campfire, watching the flames dance in the night. The disciple asked, "Master, why does the fire burn everything in its path?" "It does not choose." The hermit replied, "The fire does not choose. It simply burns whatever it touches, without bias. It is not concerned with what it consumes. It simply follows its nature." This is the lesson. The fire does not choose what it burns. In life, we are often faced with moments of passion, where our desires and energy seem to consume everything in their way. But just as fire burns indiscriminately, we must learn to direct our passions wisely. Unchecked, our fire can cause destruction, but when controlled, it can warm and illuminate. Think about it. When you feel your passion growing, do you choose wisely what you focus on? Unchecked, our passions can consume what we love most. The fire teaches us that passion, like everything else, must be handled with care. The hermit once said, "Let your fire burn brightly, but direct it toward what serves you and the world around you." When we learn to control our passions, we use their energy to create, not destroy. How can we direct our passion like the fire? The hermit shared this simple guidance. Channel your fire toward what nourishes you, and it will never burn you. Reflection practice. Directing your fire. Think about a time when your passions led to unintended consequences. What might you have done differently to channel your energy more wisely? Next time you feel your passion rising, ask yourself, am I directing my fire towards something that nurtures my growth? Meditate on this quote. The fire does not choose what it burns. Let this wisdom guide you to control your passions. Final whisper from the hermit. Direct your fire toward your purpose, and it will warm you and others. The fire does not choose what it burns. The hermit. Lesson 25. The storm does not last forever. The storm comes, but it does not stay forever. After the rain, the sun always shines again. The hermit and the traveler sat under the shelter of a tree, watching a storm rage around them. The traveler asked, "Master, how do we endure the storms of life? How do we survive the turmoil?" The hermit replied, "The storm does not last forever. It comes, it rages, and then it passes. After the storm, the sun always shines again. You must remember that nothing is permanent." This is the 25th lesson. The storm does not last forever. In life, we face many storms, challenges, heartbreaks, and difficulties. But just as a storm eventually gives way to calm, so too do our struggles pass with time. We must hold on through the tempest, knowing that peace will return. Think about it. When you face hardship, do you remind yourself that the storm will pass? The storm may be intense, but it will not last forever. Patience and perseverance are key. The hermit once said, "When the storm comes, stand firm like the mountain, and when it passes, you will find yourself stronger for having endured it." Every storm is an opportunity for growth, as long as we endure. How can we endure life's storms with grace? The hermit offered this wisdom: stand firm in the storm, for after the rain, the sun will shine again. Reflection practice. Enduring the storm. Think about a storm in your life, a challenge you faced. How did you endure it? What did you learn from it? Next time you face a difficult time, ask yourself, how can I stay strong in this moment, knowing that the storm will pass? Meditate on this quote. The storm does not last forever. Let this wisdom guide you to remain steady through life's challenges. Final whisper from the hermit. Endure the storm, for after it, the sun will rise again. Lesson 26. The river does not hurry. The river does not hurry to reach the ocean. It flows in its own time. The hermit and the traveler sat by a flowing river, watching the water glide smoothly along the banks. The traveler asked, "Master, why does the river flow so peacefully? Does it not wish to hurry to its destination?" The hermit replied, "The river does not hurry. It flows in its own time, allowing itself to be shaped by the journey, not the destination." This is the 26th lesson. The river does not hurry. In life, we often rush toward our goals, pushing against the current of time. But the river teaches us that life is not about the destination. It is about the journey. There is wisdom in flowing with the current, taking one step at a time. Think about it. How often have you hurried towards something only to miss the beauty of the moment? The river flows slowly, yet it reaches its destination with perfect timing. Your journey, too, will unfold as it is meant to, when you allow yourself to flow with life. The hermit once said, "Do not rush toward your goals. Instead, let your life unfold naturally, like the river flowing toward the sea." By trusting in the process, we find peace in each moment. How can we learn to flow with the current of life? The hermit offered this wisdom: trust in the flow of life and do not hurry to the end. Let each moment shape you. Reflection, practice, flowing with life. Think about a time when you rushed through something only to feel like you missed the deeper meaning. How might you have slowed down and been more present? Next time you feel the urge to hurry, ask yourself, how can I slow down and enjoy the journey? Meditate on this quote. The river does not hurry. Allow this wisdom to remind you to flow with life's natural rhythm. Final whisper from the hermit. Like the river, let your life flow without haste. It will reach its destination when the time is right. The river does not hurry. The hermit. Lesson 27. The shadow cannot exist without the light. It is the light that gives meaning to the shadow. Without one, the other cannot be. The hermit and the traveler walked under the light of the moon, casting long shadows on the ground. The traveler asked, "Master, what is the purpose of the shadow? Why does it follow us?" The hermit replied, "The shadow cannot exist without the light. It is a reflection of the light, just as our pain is often a reflection of our joy." This is the 27th lesson. The shadow cannot exist without the light. In life, we often try to avoid our shadows, the dark, painful, or difficult parts of ourselves. But the hermit teaches us that the shadow is not to be feared. It is an essential part of who we are, born from the light that shines within us. Think about it. How often have you tried to push away your shadow, only to find it grows stronger? The more we resist, the more the shadow persists. But when we embrace the shadow, we find it is simply a reflection of the light we hold inside. The hermit once said, "Your shadow is not your enemy. It is a part of you, and it is only through acknowledging it that you can truly see the light within you." By embracing both our light and our darkness, we find wholeness. How can we embrace our shadows with grace? The hermit offered this wisdom. When you feel your shadow, do not run from it. Instead, ask what it reveals about your light. Reflection practice. Embracing the shadow. Think about a part of yourself that you have avoided or hidden. What does this shadow teach you about your inner light? Next time you feel your shadow growing, ask yourself, what is this shadow reflecting about the light within me? Meditate on this quote. The shadow cannot exist without the light. Sit with the balance of light and shadow, feeling how they complete you. Final whisper from the hermit. Without the shadow, you would never know the brilliance of the light. The shadow cannot exist without the light. The hermit. Lesson 28. The wind cannot be tamed. The wind is wild by nature. It cannot be tamed, only respected. The hermit and the traveler sat at the edge of a cliff, watching the wind swirl around them. The traveler asked, "Master, why does the wind blow so wildly? Why can it not be controlled?" The hermit replied, "The wind is wild by nature. It cannot be tamed, only respected. Just as we cannot control life, we must learn to flow with it, not against it." This is the 28th lesson. The wind cannot be tamed. In life, we often try to control what cannot be controlled: the world, other people, or even our own circumstances. But the wind teaches us that there is power in surrender. By respecting the flow of life, we find peace. Think about it. How many times have you fought against the natural flow of things? When you resist, you only exhaust yourself. But when you surrender to life's natural rhythm, you find grace. The hermit once said, "The wind is not your enemy, it is your teacher." Learn to respect the flow of life, and you will be carried to where you are meant to be. Rather than fighting the wind, let it carry you forward. How can we respect life's wild currents? The hermit shared this wisdom. Flow with the wind, and it will carry you where you need to go. Reflection practice. Surrendering to life. Think about a time when you fought against the natural flow of life. What did you learn from the struggle? Next time you feel resistance, ask yourself, what would happen if I surrendered to this moment rather than fighting it? Meditate on this quote. The wind cannot be tamed. Let this wisdom guide you to flow with life rather than against it. Final whisper from the hermit. Respect the wind, and it will carry you forward effortlessly. The wind cannot be tamed. The hermit. Lesson 29. Darkness is not to be feared. The darkness is not your enemy. It is simply the absence of light. The hermit and the traveler sat in a cave where the darkness seemed all-encompassing. The traveler asked, "Master, why do we fear the darkness? What is it that makes us afraid?" The hermit replied, "The darkness is not your enemy. It is simply the absence of light. When you are afraid of the dark, remember that you can always bring your light into it." This is the 29th lesson. The darkness is not to be feared. In life, we often fear what we do not understand. But the darkness is not something to fear. It is simply a space where light has not yet entered. We have the power to bring our own light into the darkness. Think about it. What darkness have you encountered in your life? The darkness may seem overwhelming, but it only exists where light has not yet reached. You hold the light within you. The hermit once said, "Do not be afraid of the darkness. Simply light a candle, and it will no longer be dark." In every dark moment, there is always a spark of light within us, waiting to be ignited. How can we bring light to our darkness? The hermit offered this wisdom. Wherever there is darkness, bring your light. Reflection practice. Embracing the darkness. Think about a time when you faced darkness or fear. What light did you find within yourself to overcome it? Next time you encounter darkness, ask yourself, what light can I bring into this moment? Meditate on this quote. The darkness is not your enemy. Allow your inner light to shine brightly into any shadow that surrounds you. Final whisper from the hermit. Where there is darkness, let your light shine. The darkness is not your enemy. The hermit. Lesson 30. The seed knows its own path. A seed does not need to be told how to grow. It knows its path. The hermit and the traveler sat under a great tree, watching a seed fall to the earth. The traveler asked, "Master, how does the seed know where to grow? Does it not need guidance?" The hermit smiled and replied, "The seed does not need to be told. It carries the wisdom of the earth within it. In the same way, your true self knows the path you must take." This is the 30th lesson. The seed knows its own path. In life, we often seek outside guidance, looking for answers in others. But the seed, the hermit teaches us, already contains within it all the wisdom it needs. So too, do we. Your true path is not something to be found in the external world. It is already within you, waiting to be unearthed. Think about it. How many times have you sought answers from others, only to realize that the truth was already inside you? You do not need to force the path. Like the seed, your inner wisdom knows where to grow. The hermit once said, "Trust in the wisdom within you. Your soul knows its journey, just as the seed knows its path. You do not need to hurry or worry. Your path will unfold naturally." How can we trust the wisdom within us? The hermit offered this practice. Be still, listen to the silence, and trust in the path you are already walking. Reflection practice. Trusting your inner wisdom. Think about a time when you trusted your intuition and the path unfolded before you. How did it feel to follow that inner wisdom? Next time you feel uncertain, ask yourself, what does my inner wisdom say? What path is already unfolding before me? Meditate on this quote. The seed knows its own path. Let this wisdom remind you that your true path is already within you. Final whisper from the hermit. Trust in the wisdom within you, for it knows the way. The seed knows its own path. The Hermit. Lesson 31. The moon does not compete with the stars. The moon does not compete with the stars. It simply shines in its own time. The Hermit and the traveler gazed at the night sky, filled with countless stars. The traveler asked, "Master, why do the stars shine so brightly? Do they not compete with the moon?" The Hermit smiled and replied, "The moon does not compete with the stars. It simply shines in its own time. Each has its own moment to illuminate the night." This is the 31st lesson. The moon does not compete with the stars. In life, we often feel the need to compete to prove ourselves, to stand out, to shine brighter than others. But the moon teaches us that there is no need to compete. We each have our own moment to shine, and it is when we embrace our unique light that we truly illuminate the world. Think about it. How often do you compare yourself to others, measuring your worth by their standards? The moon shines brightly without trying to outshine the stars. In the same way, your worth does not come from competition, but from being your authentic self. The Hermit once said, "When you embrace your own time to shine, you no longer need to compete. You simply illuminate the world with your unique light. Like the moon, you have your own time, your own rhythm, your own way to shine." How can we stop competing and embrace our own time to shine? The Hermit offered this wisdom. Stop comparing your light to others. Shine in your own time, and you will brighten the world. Reflection practice. Embracing your unique light. Think about a time when you felt the urge to compete or compare yourself to others. How did it feel to let go of that need and embrace your own light? Next time you feel the urge to compare, ask yourself, how can I embrace my own time to shine without needing to compete with others? Meditate on this quote. The moon does not compete with the stars. Allow this wisdom to help you release the need to compare and embrace your own path. Final whisper from the Hermit. Shine in your own time, and the world will notice. The moon does not compete with the stars. The Hermit. Lesson 32. The stillness is the source of all movement. In stillness, all movement is born. It is from silence that the world speaks. The Hermit and the traveler sat in the quiet of the early morning, surrounded by stillness. The traveler asked, "Master, why do we need stillness? Can movement not come from action?" The Hermit replied, "It is in the stillness that movement is born. Just as the tree grows from the quiet of the earth, all action emerges from silence." This is the 32nd lesson. The stillness is the source of all movement. In life, we often mistake action for progress, but the Hermit teaches us that stillness is the wellspring of all movement. When we are still, we align ourselves with the natural rhythm of the universe, and from this place, true action arises. Think about it. How often do you rush through life, believing that constant action is the key to success? The tree does not grow by forcing its branches to stretch. It grows in stillness, rooted in the quiet earth. From this stillness, all movement arises naturally. The Hermit once said, "The greatest actions come from the deepest stillness. Only when you are still can you hear the whispers of the world." By embracing stillness, you allow yourself to be guided by the natural flow of life. How can we find stillness in a world full of noise? The Hermit offered this practice. Take a moment each day to sit in stillness. In the silence, listen for the movement of the world within you. Reflection, practice, embracing stillness. Think about a time when you were rushing, only to find that stillness brought you the clarity you needed. How did the stillness shift your perspective? Next time you feel overwhelmed, ask yourself, how can I embrace stillness in this moment to find the right course of action? Meditate on this quote. The stillness is the source of all movement. Allow this wisdom to help you find peace in stillness, knowing that from it, true action will arise. Final whisper from the Hermit. In stillness, all things are born. In stillness, all movement is born. The Hermit. Lesson 33. The journey is the teacher. The journey is not a path to something. It is the path itself. The Hermit and the traveler sat by the edge of a long road, looking into the horizon. The traveler asked, "Master, when will the journey end? What will we find when we reach our destination?" The Hermit smiled and replied, "The journey is not about reaching a destination. It is the path itself that is the teacher." This is the 33rd lesson. The journey is the teacher. In life, we often seek a destination, believing that reaching it will bring us fulfillment. But the Hermit teaches us that the journey itself is the teacher. Every step, every moment, every experience is an opportunity for growth. There is no final destination. Path is the destination. Think about it. How often have you focused solely on the end goal, only to miss the lessons along the way? The journey is not about where you end up, but about who you become as you walk it. The Hermit once said, "The path you walk is your greatest teacher. Learn from each step, for it will reveal who you truly are." The journey itself is the purpose. It shapes you into who you are meant to be. How can we embrace the journey as our teacher? The Hermit offered this final wisdom. Trust the path. Trust the journey. It is your greatest teacher. Reflection practice. Embracing the journey. Think about a time when you focused on the destination and missed the lessons along the way. What did you learn when you stopped and embraced the journey? Next time you feel focused only on the end goal, ask yourself, what is this journey teaching me in this moment? Final reflection. The whisper of the Hermit. The journey is not to be completed, it is to be lived. As the Hermit and the traveler reached the final lesson of their journey, they sat quietly by the edge of a calm stream. The traveler, deeply moved by the wisdom shared, asked, "Master, what now? Have we reached the end?" The Hermit smiled, his eyes twinkling like the stars in the night sky. "No, my friend. The end you seek is simply another beginning. The journey has no true end. It is endless, just as the path you walk is eternal." Think about it. How often have you seen life as a race to an endpoint? Now, imagine it as a never-ending dance, where each moment, each lesson, and each breath is a part of the flow. The path itself is the teacher, always guiding you, always revealing more. The Hermit once said, "The beauty of the journey lies not in the distance traveled, but in the moments you pause to truly see the world around you." With every step, you are not moving closer to something, but rather, you are becoming everything you are meant to be. How can we embrace the endless journey? The Hermit's final whisper offers the answer. Let go of the idea of an end. Live fully, walk gently, and know that the journey is both the path and the destination. Final meditation. living the journey. Think about your own journey. Where have you been? And where are you now? Are you rushing toward an end? Or are you living in each step along the way? Next time you feel like you are approaching an end, pause and reflect. What has this journey taught me in this moment? How can I embrace the next step with grace and openness? Meditate on this quote. The journey is not to be completed, it is to be lived. Let this wisdom fill you with peace, knowing that each moment is a part of an endless path of discovery. As you continue walking your path, remember this: you are not alone. The Hermit's wisdom is within you, and the journey is always unfolding, always guiding you to your true self. Final whisper from the Hermit: the journey is eternal. Embrace it with all your heart, for it is in the journey that you find who you truly are.